Okay. Hi, everybody. This is
Hi,
Julia,
everybody.
and that's Francesca.
This is
Yay.
Francesca. Yay.
So we are chatting because Francesca was to be coming to Baltimore Concert Opera for a recital on March 31st. And last week, as I was looking at my calendar and I saw that date approaching and just literally burst into tears because I've been looking forward to this recital for so long. And I thought, well, in the absence of actually being able to come together in all of this and the distress that all of us are feeling, just in life in general and us in the music business, I thought, at least maybe we can check in and say hello and find out what Francesca's up to. I'm so happy that we'll be able to reschedule this. Luckily, a
Absolutely.
small cast of just two people, one soloist and one pianist,
Yeah,
is easy to reschedule. So it's much different than a full opera. So once we have the clear and we understand that we can move forward, then Francesca and Matthew will talk and we'll figure out when that date is going to be sometime in the future. But
absolutely.
yeah, for now, I just want to find out how you're doing, Francesca. Tell us, um, how are you? Let's start with that.
I'm weirdly okay. I mean, there are a couple of different things. One is that I'm at a stage in my life and my career where I'm teaching as much as I'm singing now. So I just started teaching like a core of my most regular students online. So
Mm-hmm.
that sort of not only gives me a sense of still having structure, but I could tell I taught for the first time online this past Friday. I taught about 5 hours, and it was like palpable the relief and the
Yeah.
happiness from every single client that it was like their 60-minute lesson was kind of a return to normalcy,
Mm.
whether people had like extra fancy setups through the laptop and external mics or were literally like using their iPhone. I think it's sort of, first of all, it's how people feel their joy, you know what I mean, and are able to express themselves. And the way that I work, I'm very tough with a lot of love, so it's like just even something like not having to think about anything extraneous, because it's like for some people I did 60 minutes of like technical drills, and just kind of put them through their paces. I think there's something that's very grounding about that. The other thing is that I kind of feel a little bit right now like a bird in a gilded cage. When I had to make the decision as to like, am I going to live in Germany permanently and try to live there as an expat? Am I going to move to Vancouver because I got a faculty position offer at BAM? Like, what am I doing? It was like kind of like where's Waldo? And I made the decision to move to Brooklyn, to South Brooklyn, to stay in New York because it allowed me the lifestyle that I wanted and to still do everything that I wanted. Moving to Berlin would have meant not being able to work in Canada. you know. Moving to Canada would have meant that I would have been too isolated to continue to sing in Europe and in the States in a way. So I have this beautiful apartment that I love. I'm all the way down South Brooklyn. I'm not in hipster downtown fancy Brooklyn. I'm partying like it's 1925 with the Italian and Chinese grandpas, actually.
That
Like
sounds just like you. I've known you a long time.
it is me. It's totally me.
Yeah.
It is me. And I have this beautiful apartment that I would never be able to afford in any other New York zip code, as you can see by my library, my yoga mat, and, the light streaming through my windows. So I'm okay. And
Mhm.
also part of it is that I'm one of the lucky ones out of my colleagues, because this whole flurry of gigs that I had coming up, every single one of them is going to be rescheduled. I'm very, very lucky. I'm very lucky.
Nice.
So, the week of the 15th, when everything was kind of like falling apart, I was supposed to be getting on a plane on the 15th to go teach in Vancouver. So the first week was a little like shell shock, because all of a sudden I went from thinking that I was going to be there, grinding it out and group lessons and checking in with the young artists at Vancouver Opera and like all this kind of stuff to like sitting at home, like watching this national like car crash happen and being stuck way too much on like social media and everything. And then after like, and watching one gig after the other get postponed. I mean, it was just, and I know that everybody in the industry went through it, and in a way is still going through it for people that have like summer festival stuff.
Right.
People are kind of hoping that they're going to out the COVID, what I want to say, like the COVID spike is going to come fast enough that they can do their July and August like summer festival gigs, but we don't really know what's going to happen. So I have a lot to be grateful for. I've got a little 7-pound fuzzy foster kitty who's adorable and sweet. So I have
saw him run away. I saw him run past a minute ago.
Yeah, he's really cute. Now that he's like not sickly and scared of human beings, he's like definitely running the house, that's for sure. So, I just, as you know me, I'm a people person. I mean, I've gotten my hand slapped so many times by much fancier people than me in the business about being too open on social media or sharing too much. But at this point in my career, like that's kind of who I am. And that's why people love my singing. And that's why I always get invited back. It's all of this social isolation has reminded me why I even sing, why I'm still singing. We've known each other for many a year, and my whole career trajectory has been so unusual and meandering and had phases of not singing at all, really. But I just feel like it's a spiritual calling because in the end, it's about connecting to people. It's really about the human connection and affording like a cathartic spiritual moment for people. And that's why people get very heated and very passionate about the singers that they like and what they want to see happening in the art form, because it's from such a sincere place. And that's the thing that I miss the most. I'm sad because like the recital that I'm working on with Matt for you, the music that I picked was from such a personal place, from my personal ties to you, to Brendan, to other people in Baltimore that have been so supportive and loving with my singing. But when me, when I sing, it's a very personal thing.
Yes.
So I think that's the thing that I miss the most, but I'm lucky that, come the next season, I'll be able to make up for those performances. And it just, and it just gives me more time to work on the music. It gives me more time. So that was a very long-winded, typical Francesca way of taking 3 hours to say something that you could say in 5 minutes. But all that to say, obviously, I haven't really gotten much company in the past week, 2 weeks. So I'm just happy for, human product. I'm okay. I'm going to be okay. And I think that I'm choosing, especially now that we have the national edict that everybody kind of has to sit in place until April 30th. I'm kind of expecting people to not be allowed to start peeking out into hanging out in groups until probably like the end of May. I don't know. I just get that feeling, especially in New York.
Right.
So it's just time to go in. It's time to not be so external, and it's time to do work on the inside, studying poetry, lyrics, yoga, meditation, all the things that allow us to be better people so that when we come back to the art form, we're an even we're an even better communicator. So so that's me. How are you doing? Are you okay?
We're doing fine. I mean, other than the existential dread of what's to come. So I feel disconnected from a lot of people. I'm lucky that I have a wonderful family and a puppy who's keeping me good company here. I don't know if we're going to get any appearances on this chat. I've told them, Mommy has an interview, so ask Dad if you need something. So kind of figuring out all of that. 2 children in school, 2 parents working full time, all from home. But how amazing that we can actually do this right now.
Yeah.
Um, but I wanted to share a little bit for anybody who doesn't know us together, because we go back a long way. Um,
We
yeah,
do.
we do. We met singing at the Sarasota Opera in
Sarasota Opera.
yeah 2003, and I remember very clearly the first time I heard you sing. And we have a mutual friend who had I had sung with prior to meeting you, and he had told me about you. You guys went to school together, and
Yeah.
I was really looking forward to hearing you and meeting you. And I will just never forget that first time that we all sang for each other, and I heard you, and I just burst into tears because I was just so moved by your singing. I wrote something about this many years ago for Baltimore
Yeah.
Concert Opera, and I should find it. But what you were just talking about with that personal connection, and when you
Yeah.
perform, how deeply personal it is for you to connect with the people in the room, is
Yeah.
such an incredible experience. And it's also such a top value, I think, of all musicians. But at Baltimore Concert Opera, one of the most important things about what we do is the up close and personal experience. And people who are maybe a little bit newer to BCO might not know that you were in our very first production. You are Donna Anna in our first Don
Yes.
Giovanni, and you really helped us get started. And so we
Mhm.
owe a lot to you as a friend and as an artist. And of
Yeah.
course, our friendship predates that. You were at my wedding. I mean, we really
Exactly.
we've known each other a long while. So
Yeah.
that's just a little neat history, and one of the very special reasons why we were so excited to have you back, because we haven't been able to get you for a few years, and you've been so
Mm.
busy. But when really looking forward to being able to reschedule that recital when we have the go ahead and we know that we can do that, because it's really going to be so beautiful. I wrote down some questions. Oh, tell us a little bit about the recital and what music is going to be on it when you do it, and sort of how you picked it all.
Sure. Okay. So I had this idea back when I was living in Berlin, because Berlin is this like very gray, slate gray, kind of depressing, never quite winter, but always rainy sort of place. And then I went and I did like a whole bunch of auditions in Italy, and I was down by like Bari, and you kind of like you walk off of the airplane and you walk into the airport, and all of a sudden it's like somebody just changed your iPhone filter, and everything is saturated in like all of these bright colors, and then you go outside and you realize why. It was early spring at that point. It was like everything was blooming to the point of almost being violent, and it was just so sunny and gorgeous, and I really was very affected by that, because half my family is from like southern Italy, and I got into some discussions about like femininity and also what it means to be creative and feminine, and how we sort of look to nature for solace, and almost like the sensuality of nature and what that feels like, and how it can almost feel the creative process for me is almost a sensual process, as in like not in a lascivious way, but like it's very, very tactile, if that makes any sense. And so to find, I wanted to create almost like a mood experience where I could bring people into that tactile experience with me and kind of pull them in. Um, and especially thinking about Baltimore, I mean, my half of that story is that through our friendship and through you starting Baltimore Concert Opera, it actually kept me singing. I mean, the irony of the two of us having this discussion, when I remember me covering Norma, and there was noise at one point about me being given like a lead role the next season, because the general management was so moved by my singing and what I had done in covering.
Yeah,
And
before you,
then
I'm going to interrupt you for just a second, just to clarify. You were covering Norma at the old Baltimore Opera
at the old
Company,
Baltimore Opera.
right? And it was we who had introduced Brendan and I
Yes,
we introduced you to that company, and it was like a really neat opportunity for you. And suddenly
absolutely.
you were introduced there. And then what happened? Tell the next bit.
And then because of the craziness that happened with, I think it was like the real estate crash and all that kind of stuff,
Yeah,
there
it's really,
was around 2007, 2008, there was this whole shuttering of a whole slew of large and mid-sized regional theaters. And the old Baltimore Opera is one of them. And I remember thinking to myself, well, you know, it's been so long since I've done any kind of serious singing. I thought that that was going to be my opportunity to finally get my career started, and then the doors literally closed. And I went back to New York and I became secretary. I basically gave up on singing. That was about the
mhm.
second out of 5 or 6 times that I gave up singing.
Yeah.
You know,
Mhm.
it's like the mafia. I try to get out and they pull me back in, but you know, it's like, oh my God.
Yeah.
So and then I remember you and Brendan saying to me, we've started this company,
Yeah.
you know, and you and Brendan were basically the reason why I still sang for about 3 years, I think, 3 or 4 years. And so I would go and I would be like a high level, like C-suite secretary for like 11 and a half months out of the year. And then I would get to sing something at Baltimore Concert Opera.
Mhm.
And it sort of kept my soul alive, you know.
Mhm. Mhm.
And then to come full circle, like one of the other jobs that will be rescheduled is James Harp, you know,
Yeah.
restarting a more formal opera company through Maryland Opera, you know. So I feel the love. I
Yeah.
mean, um, my voice is not usual. It's not cookie cutter, and so either people have your reaction or they can't stand
Right.
it. Like I find it like personally offensive,
Right.
which is something that it's taken me a very long time to like make
Yeah.
peace with, you
Hmm.
know, because when people don't like it, they really, really hate it. Like it's a very active resistance to my singing. So to come from singing from such a personal place and find your tribe in this world and in this industry, especially the way that it is now, is like a very, very special thing. So all of that to say, I wanted to bring a gift to Baltimore, to my people, you know, and just sort of create this beautiful, like humid, tropical, sensual kind of summer night in the south of Italy by the water, you know, and by the like bougainvillea taking over all the old buildings. And so through that, I put together a cycle made of all of the old school bel canto, you know, peeps, Donizetti, Bellini. I had 2 Rossini songs in there. I had a couple of Tosti songs, and all of the poetry is all about love of nature, not only love of nature, but like love of the homeland and this kind of yearning, you know, that this kind of being in love with a place, and then that moved into a whole set of Rachmaninoff songs. And just, I mean, just the sound poetry of Rachmaninoff is just as romantic and kind of thick and luxurious as you would think it would be if anybody's familiar with you know, his piano concertos, which I fell in love with when I was like 18 years old. You know, I didn't know from classical music, but I heard Rachmaninoff, and then that I was done. That was it. So I had a set of 4 or 5 of those. Again, he pulled from several different well-known Russian poets, but all of the text is really about sort of the exoticism of like summer gardens at night. There's a very beautiful and extremely challenging Rachmaninoff song that's not done that often, which is why I wanted to do it. It's about a 6.5 to 7 minute tour de force, as we would say. And it's really almost like an operatic Shana of this woman who is, she might be looking for the ghost of a past lover. She might just be brokenhearted, remembering him and wishing she could find a way to go back to him. And she's in this beautiful country garden. I think it's like behind a mansion where like a country mansion where she used to live. And it used to be where she would have her assignations with this man.
Mm.
And she's kind of stuck in this place, and all of the greenery and all of the flora is kind of Miss Havisham style, kind of dying around her, but she just can't bear to leave this place where she fell in love for the first time, and was probably with a man for the very first time. By putting herself physically in this place, I think she's hoping that she can bring this man back to her. It's really quite something. And Rachmaninoff is also a tour de force for any pianist, because Rachmaninoff wrote for the way that he could play, and he played like a
Mhm.
monster.
Yep.
He's famous for having a very unusually large, like, hand breadth. Yeah, exactly.
Not mine. I have tiny hands.
No, I don't have my hands.
You have your
So,
nails fit.
exactly. Even with the nails, and they're like falling off, because like I can't get to I'm like dying over here. I can't get the nails done. I can't get the hair done. It's awful.
You
And
look
then,
beautiful. You don't need to
thanks.
worry. You're welcome.
I actually put the wingtips on today. It was like, woohoo!
Me too.
I gotta be on
Makeup.
camera.
Woo. You
Oops.
just went sideways. Okay. Okay,
Okay.
so we're going to pick up where we left off. You were just talking about the Rachmaninoff and the beauty of that Shana, the 6 or 7 minute piece that you were doing. We're just talking about the theme of the recital to sort of finish up today. Tell us a little bit more.
I was gonna end with a really well-known cycle that's done by mezzos, but sopranos do it all the time as well, which is the Berlioz Les Nuits d'été, because it's just emotionally generous, and it's beautiful. There are some people that feel that the arrangement reduction that's made for piano, reducing from the orchestra, leaves a little bit to be desired pianistically, but it's just such a beautiful, beautiful cycle. And the poetry is very beautiful, and like sort of like at the height of romanticism in a way. And then we've got one little aria surprise in there for people that have been fans for a really long time, that will leave for people to come and, figure out what it is when they come to see it. And I try to keep in mind the tastes of the people that I know love my singing in town, them specifically, to sort of give them a gift back, to say thank you for keeping me singing, and thank you for enjoying my singing, and this is the kind of singing that I do the best, so it just, an hour and 15 minutes of pure unadulterated joy, old school. That's what I wanted to do. Yeah.
Well, I, for one, cannot wait until this happens.
Yeah.
So we're going to share this with our friends, anyone who would like to listen to you and me talk for a while.
Yeah.
For now, and then once we reschedule, we can share this again so people can maybe hear a little bit again about what the music's going to be. But
absolutely.
I really can't wait until we can do this. And in the meantime, stay safe, stay healthy, take care of your sweet little kitty.
I will.
And
enjoy Kevin Bacon. Tell the boys I said hello.
I will. So Kevin Bacon, for those who don't know, is my puppy. And I'll tell you the story of how that name came about in person when I get to see you.
Awesome.
But, well, Francesca, thank you so much for taking this time. I guess we have a lot of time right now, right? More so than usual. I'm hard at work trying to figure out what all of this is going to mean for the future of a performing arts organization. And it is, of course, a challenge. There's a lot that we don't know. So we do know, though, that there is beautiful music to be shared, and that when we are able to do it again, aren't we all going to be so relieved and excited?
Absolutely.
To be able, I think it will give us a new level of appreciation, and I'm looking forward to that.
I absolutely know so, and I'm like chomping at the bit for it, so I can't wait.
Great. Well, stay well. It is so great to talk to you.
Mwah. Mwah. Talk to you later.
Arrivederci.
Bye.